Hey guys, this is Bill with Hidden Florida. Today I wanted to talk to you about char, one of my favorite subjects. One of the users called XORZ turned me on to this idea of char rope instead of char cloth, and that's what we have right here. He used pure cotton rope. I believe it was clothesline with the nylon core removed. That's kind of hard to find, and although it is more effective than this particular char rope, this is just a replacement mop head, one strand from a replacement mop head. It'll run you maybe $4, $5, $6, and you can make ridiculous amounts of char rope. So this stuff is great, and I love it. But I started experimenting with different forms of char, different natural materials, and I found something that I like much, much better, and that's what I'm about to show you. But before I do, I wanted to talk about storing your char. I see a lot of guys with char, and it's one of the most essential tools for firecraft out in the bush. However, I see these guys putting them in pouches that are not waterproof, and that perplexes me because wet char does not do you much good at all. So I just wanted to show you real quick my storage system. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Just the standard char tin, the Altoids tin with the hole in the top, of course. And I seal it with a rubber band or a Ranger band, something strong that's not going to break, so make sure it doesn't come apart on me. Then inside I have a waterproof bag. In this case it's just a breast milk bag. This is an idea. I think the first person to bring it up was Bushcraft on Fire's channel. I love those guys, check them out. But I like to store my char in aluminum foil wrapped with a desiccant, just to make sure it stays nice and dry for you. And of course I also want fire making ability, or a spark, so I include a nice little fire steel which I've wrapped up in plastic. And I've done that just to keep the sharp edges from puncturing my waterproof bag, because that's the most important part of this system, is keeping your char absolutely dry. So just to give you an example of what the char rope can do, keep in mind this is not going to be as hot as the real char cotton cord or cotton rope. It's just a mop head, and this is way too much, but this will give you a great example of how well it catches a spark. So catches on right there, and it will burn on its own and get really hot. And I found that it's great for plugging wood or mushrooms to get them started and make them into a really nice coal. And I'm going to use my ultralight aerator, commonly known as a drinking straw. Very handy tool for firecraft, I found. Just pinch the end here, give you a nice focused stream. So you can see that lighten up, getting nice and hot. We've already got a lot of white though, which means it's expending. But that's a terrific amount of heat, and that's already setting the bark underneath it on fire, which is great. But I want to talk today about dealing with wet tinder, which is one of the biggest challenges outdoors. And if you're in a situation where everything is wet, that's going to be one of the times when you need fire the most. So well, you could certainly make it happen with this char cord or char rope. I found something that works a little better for me. So I've packed this gusseted breast milk bag with these little wrapped up candies, and that's what they are to me, is little fire starting candies. What they are is charred mushroom, specifically bracket fungus. I've seen one other instance of somebody using bracket fungus as a char, but they used it thinly sliced. I found that it works much better to take a young bracket fungus that's still in the button growth phase, harvest it then, and then char it whole, and it just forms this incredibly wonderful coal. Pardon the unwrapping here, I forgot about the plastic. So this one is not my finest piece, but I wanted to use that just to show you the less than ideal condition. Sometimes they're a little bit harder to get the spark, definitely a little bit harder than the char rope to get started, but all you have to do is rough up top surface a little bit, increase your surface area, and it should take a spark just fine. Okay, that has started. So the reason I really like this mushroom char is its density. It's going to smolder just fine on its own, doesn't need any tending, so you can carry fire easily with it. But it generates a lot of heat over time, so I found it especially useful for dealing with wet tinder. So, for a little experiment, I have a good little bundle of jute twine here that's been soaking for about half an hour in this bowl of water. And we're going to pretend this is our only available tinder. Everything's soaking wet outside, and all we have is this mushroom char. So of course, first thing you're going to do is squeeze every last little bit of water you can out of your tinder. The best way to do that is to twist it. Okay, that's still ridiculously wet, but I feel good about it. So our shroom char is lit, smoldering nicely, nice slow coal. And here's my soaking wet bundle of jute tinder. I'll place that on top in such a way to make a little cave, and then we're going to force the air through it. So all the hot air is going to travel through the fibers, and you should see steam if you've got proper form. So we got lots of good steam coming off of that. It's drying out nicely. Now you don't want to kill it with the air. You want to use a stoking breath, which means very slow and controlled. We don't want to blast the air through it. We want it to pick up all the water it can on its way out of the jute. And keep in mind, this is soaking wet, so it's not going to be instantaneous, but it will dry it. It'll dry it on its own if you walk away, but if you're cold and need a fire in a hurry, that's not really an option. And the straw keeps you from getting facefuls of smoke as well. Very, very good device. We got a nice little core temperature in there. You see a lot of steam coming out on its own now from the heat generated. We're just about there. And that's how you light wet tinder with mushroom char. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for your views, likes, and subscriptions. Have a great day.